All right.
I don't
I'm
know
just
about
really
that.
adopting this whole Peter Thiel mentality right now. If you didn't watch last episode 45, we talked about 0 to 1. We have some loose ends that we have to tie together, close off. Belky, one, do you have your one contrarian belief for
Yes,
us?
really quick. I just realized I gotta take it down a notch. I'm gonna listen back to that at 2x speed, and it's gonna be like 6x because of how fast that was, and I'm not gonna be able to compute. So
Gotta breathe.
taking a
You
deep
gotta
breath.
breathe.
My one important truth that few people agree with me on, and like you said, I took the stance where what's one thing a lot of people believe that I disagree with. And for me, that is in all capital letters, you need to have a plan. Um, that's the truth. Sorry. That's the inverse, right? You don't need
That's
to
what you
have a plan.
believe.
I believe you do not need to have a plan.
Okay.
The conventional truth is you need to have a plan. And we've talked about it a lot, but a quick story. This was now about a year ago when I was kind of just setting out on this kind of gap year self-employment mission, and a mentor of mine, who he runs an innovation incubator for high school students and teens. And I remember we were catching up, and no hard feelings, but he basically told me, like, Henry, I think you're too scattered, and this is someone who's entrepreneurial, which
I tell you that all the
I know.
time.
Let me preface this with, like, I agree. But he was like, I think you need to sit down and figure out what you want to do and be in 10 years. And when he did that, I was like, I'm going to go the other way 10 times harder. It's just like, it gets back to our hot and cold analogy, which we've talked about before. I'm 23 years old. I have no dependents. I have few responsibilities. I am in no rush. I have no issue with shooting shots and taking risks and doing anything for the next 3 to 5 years before figuring out what's right for me or what I want to do. And I'm sure something will come up in the meantime. So to sit down and come up with what you want to do and be in 10 years, I think is futile. It could be good, but yeah, what do you think?
This was, well, it's kind of interesting because 0 to 1, Peter Thiel was kind of talking about this because there is this controversy of plan, no plan. He's framing it in the book. It was 2014. A lot of people were like, this whole lean startup, just have minimal viable product and just kind of test as you go. Like, you don't have a real solid plan. So I think he was pushing back against that. Maybe the tides have turned and now it's too plan heavy. So you're pushing back. Like, Peter Thiel's the have a plan side. You're the opposite of that. I am too. I think I'm wondering if, because venture capital, like, you always come in with a business plan sort of approach and you're pitching them on this whole idea, you have to have it pretty clear and well thought out. Whereas maybe we don't need that as much.
I think even that's changing, right? You used to have to knock on doors and show up to those pitch meetings with your deck and your business plan and your X, Y, and Z, who else is investing in the round. I think that's changing a lot too, and it's becoming more casual. Fundraising, yes and no. It depends what sector you're in. But yeah, I also don't want myself to think and others to think I have no plans. Like, I have these micro plans that are like week to week things, small projects I want to do and things that need to get done. But I don't want to lock myself into some 7-year plan by sitting down and writing that out. At least not at this point in my life. Maybe when I'm 35 and need to pay bills. But
I think the difference is the difference between, I don't want to say like a trail map, or like, say, a plan, or like I don't know what you call, like a route versus like your North Star, your direction. Like, you have generally the direction you want to move.
exactly.
It's entrepreneurship related, you doing whatever you want on your own time. And you're going to find out exactly what that is along the way. But some people want to know the exact path to get to the North Pole, whatever. I'm thinking North Star because I was just listening to a lot of good David Perel podcasts. I sent you a couple.
I queued him.
I'm listening to a couple right now, but one was Jason Fried, who wrote Rework. Great book, one of my favorites, actually. And the idea there is he's building businesses, but he doesn't want them to grow. Like, grow as slowly as possible. Versus, like, that's a contrarian belief that I realize that I embody. I want that. even though I
You
don't say
do.
that necessarily.
I'm like, Dylan, let's build this. Like, oh, there's a good platform. Come on and help with Dunbar. And you're like, no, like, I just want to do this one thing super slowly and
it's
super well.
when I went to, or when my dad and we went to Cuba, and everything's just like, we're running around. We're at that American pace. Actually, the last line in the podcast is like, it's such a bad thing, the American work ethic. That's our worst export, because like everyone's just rushing around now. But in Cuba, there's this one simple word that's just like, check your pace. It's just tranquilo. It's like, yo, fucking check your pace. Like you're going too fast.
That's
Slow
worldwide.
down.
That's worldwide too.
We're so not used to it, but I
Yeah.
think that's a great mentality. And there, Jason Fried, who started Basecamp, just for context, and a couple other companies, but it's basically like his one measure is, are we profitable? If we're profitable, just keep going at the pace that we want. So I think that's awesome. Like, I want to embody that more, is like, just grow at the pace that's right for you, because you're trying to have this like deep roots of a solid business that's going to last generations.